Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another session of Ask Zak with myself, Zak, and my trusted colleague, Sean.
Hello there, and welcome back.
Now, tonight we are looking at taking care of our pigs, especially when it comes down to feeding them correctly. Now, a lot of people come in and they say, why are there so many different types of pig feed on the market? There's growers, there's weaners, there's lactating mash. All these different kinds, are they really necessary? And my answer to you always will be, yes, it's necessary. Remember, that animal, that piggery is a business unit. And you're looking at that animal like an athlete. It's something that needs to perform. You need maximum growth. You need the correct daily gains. And if you do not feed the animal correctly, they will never get to their targets. And when they don't get to their targets, you as the farmer at the end of the day is the one being shortchanged, not getting the value that you should from your pigs. So be very aware. There is a very good reasoning behind the different feeds that we do give pigs. Before we go into our pigs and the feeding, Sean, common question, offal. Is it good? Is it bad? What would you say?
Well, Zak, like you said, it's very important to make sure that you make profit as soon as possible, obviously. So offal, the number one problem, it's not good quality. The nutrient level in there, we don't know what it is. Is it good enough? And it's got so much water, it's defeating the point of your growth. And then one other thing, always remember, that offal comes from somewhere else. These things all the time carry worms, carry other things that you're not aware of, which can hamper your growth. So always make sure that when you feed offal, we do not recommend it, but when you feed it, there is these side effects, and this is going to hamper your production.
Now, a very important thing that you mentioned now, Sean, is of course worms. Now, worms do play a definite role, but it also depends on your type of setup. If you've got a very good environmentally controlled setup, worms is not that a bigger challenge. But if you're more a free-range farmer, open house setup, any animal can come through, birds can come through, you may get a challenge with worms. Now, very important, we're feeding the animal, not the worms. So if you have a challenge with worms in your pigs, make sure you get rid of it, because your money is going into the worms and they're not going to bring you some money back in. So be very aware. There's two ways of applying deworming. There's a product we call Piperazine. It's a powder that you can mix into the feed and that deworms them. Or the easiest way and the most common way is just your normal ivermectin injectable. Now, ivermectin injectable is, of course, underneath the skin. It deworms your animals and kills all mites that might sit on the pig. So it is actually just a little bit easier to use, easier to apply, and of course gives you a broader spectrum of protection. Now, with that, of course, that is one of the medications. But let's start the cycle now from the beginning with our piglets. Very important. You can give the best feed available on the market. But if you haven't injected those little piglets on day 3 with your iron injection, which we call Dexiron, those piglets are not going to perform. Remember, they are born anemic. That means they've got a lower red blood cell count. So there's less basically to carry the nutrients, carry everything that the animal needs to carry it through its body. So very, very important. Make sure you do inject not your ivermectin, your Dexiron, that iron injection at 3 days of age. Because now you're giving your animal the right start to its life. Now, Sean, now we spoke about the piglets. What is important? Why are we always talking about creep feed when it comes to our piglets?
Well, it's like a very bad joke, but we need to creep properly so that we can grow properly. So the first important thing is that if you give your animals creep feed, the sooner the better. So with pigs, we always say just after 10 days, you can start giving them creep feed. The importance of creep feed, it develops the stomach so that the stomach is ready to use feed optimally. And secondly, it reduces the stress on the mother from producing all the milk to keep the piglets alive. And then lastly, it reduces what we call weaning stress. Weaning stress is when you wean your piglets and they are not ready to be eating anything else. But then since you've been giving them creeping feed, then they're ready to take in the nice solid feeds. So always remember, creep feed sets you up for better growth in terms of using your feed optimally and having your piglets grow properly.
Now you've touched on the piglets. Of course, our care of that sow is just as important. Now we've got on our Instagram a question, when do you start giving the sow the lactating mash? Now we always start the sow at least 2 weeks before she farrows. We start her on the lactating mash. Now it's got 2 reasons behind it. First of all is we want to start to build up her reserves for when those piglets arrive. Of course, another thing that we want to do is those piglets are taking up more space in the stomach. So she can't take in as much food as she needs. So the lactating mash is higher in nutrients. It's more nutrient dense to assist that sow. And of course, we never change overfeed the day that the poor sow farrows, because that's going to be a shock on the system. That's why we start 2 weeks beforehand. His body got used to it. It's making sure there's no shock on the system. So be very aware. But it is crucial that you take proper care of that sow. Because if she loses condition now through the period that she's looking after those little piglets, she's going to take longer to get back into condition when you want to either inseminate her or put the ball with her. So be very attentive of it. And of course, that also helps the mother when those little ones arrive. It helps her with her milk production. Remember, those little piglets are drawing those nutrients out of her body, and if we don't supplement her, she is going to lose a lot of weight, and you don't want to be there. Now, of course, when we talk about our sows, let's say we've weaned our little piglets. When do we give weaner? When do we give grower? And how does that work, Sean?
Well, the weaner, very important, approximately at about 28 days, weighing them around 6.75 kilograms and 8 kilograms your piglets. Then you can give them a weaner. But then always remember, I always say this out loud, please remember to transition. Don't tomorrow change and then start one thing today, tomorrow and you change and you give them something different. You need to transition them into the feed. So from approximately 28 days of age and up to weighing them about 8 kilograms, you can start giving them weaner. The weaner is also made to grow and help them with stressful conditions of not eating, of not having enough milk anymore. And then the other situation is that we're going to move to grower. As soon as you're ready to move to grower, that's when you recognize that your animals are approximately at 70 weeks, 70 days, 80 days. So then you can move to the grower. If you jump steps, you will reduce the growth level. So always remember, give the right feed at the right time, or else you will increase the amount of time that you have them on your hands, and your customers are not going to get the product that they're waiting for. And they're going to take too long to wait for it, and then we're going to lose customers. Always remember, give the right feed at the right times.
And of course, last but not least, we've got our sow and ball. Now that is our maintenance feed when that sow is not lactating or needing to take care of little ones. And of course, for your boars, a nice ration to keep those animals in just the right condition. Not overfatten them, not starve them, just keep them at that exact point where they need to be when it comes down to production. Because you need, if you've got an overfat boar, of course he's going to struggle to cover the sow, and vice versa as well. So make sure your animals stay in the right condition. But this is a lot of information, and of course we share a lot of our info. Now Sean, we've got a few Farmers Days or Information Days ahead this week. What is ahead for us?
Well, this week, this Thursday, we are in Hoedspruit and in Nelspruit. So pop in a call and get some space, and then we will meet you on Thursday. Always remember, we're there to help you. So come packed with all the questions, come packed with all the enthusiasm. We're going to be there to help as much as we can. If any time that you have a question, we are available as technical advisors from Alzu, and then you are free to grow properly, because we want you to grow.
Just what you call free to grow properly. These sessions are free of charge, so you just need to sign up. There's no charges. We just want to share our knowledge. So from our side, thanks for tonight. Have a good evening, and looking forward to seeing you next week.
And from my side, have a good one, and let's see each other next week again.
Goodbye.